Regarding the defense's contention that the pretrial chamber erred in fact and law by taking into account irrelevant considerations in respect to the state warranties, the appeals chamber considers that the pretrial chamber's finding mainly related to the implementation and enforcement of the proposed conditions. It considered the practical implications of insurance adherence to the proposed preferred conditions in a situation such as the one at hand. It did so against the backdrop of having found that all three risks under Article 58(1)(b) of the statute were established. As such, it was reasonable for the pretrial chamber to examine how, in practice, the suggested conditions would be implemented. The defense has failed to show an error in this assessment. For these reasons, the appeals chamber considers that the defense has failed to show how the pretrial chamber erred in its assessment of the proposed conditions of release and state warranties. For the foregoing reasons, the second ground of appeal is rejected.
Patay, rejected.
Third ground of appeal.
Puro reject, patay. Garapon!
Regarding the third ground of appeal, within which the defense argues that the pretrial chamber erred in not considering humanitarian grounds either as independent consideration or mitigating factor in assessing interim release, the appeals chamber considers that the pretrial chamber did not refuse to address the question of interim release on humanitarian grounds. Rather, it gave the reasons for which, in its view, the humanitarian grounds advanced by the defense were not sufficiently set out in the case at hand.
Tama.
Further, the appeals chamber recalls that the medical condition of a detained person may be a reason for a chamber to grant interim release with conditions, and that the chamber enjoys discretion when deciding on conditional release. The appeals chamber considers that it is not apparent from the pretrial chamber's assessment that it was unreasonable. The pretrial chamber found the existence of risks under Article 58(1)(b) of the statute, which were not mitigated by Mr. Duterte's purported condition, and also could not be mitigated by any condition imposed upon release. The pretrial chamber then proceeded to analyze whether humanitarian grounds, as argued by the defense, could justify release on conditions. The appeals chamber thus considers that the pretrial chamber assessed the relevant information before it in light of the arguments made by the defense and reached its conclusion on this basis. It follows that the defense has failed to demonstrate that the pretrial chamber's assessment was unreasonable. Accordingly, the appeals chamber finds that the defense has failed to show that the pretrial chamber erred in its assessment. For these reasons, the third ground of appeal is rejected.
Patay! Aray ko! Boundary ka man! Boundary! Aray! Kita-kita ka ba? Puro fail! Rejected! Fail! Rejected! Aray ko!
Finally, the appeals chamber notes that the pretrial chamber reached its conclusions in relation to the risks enumerated in Article 58(1)(b) of the statute on the basis of a comprehensive assessment of the information before it. In the present case, having rejected the three grounds of appeal presented by the defense in the appeal brief, the appeals chambers unanimously confirms the impugned decision. This brings as to the end of the summary of the appeals chamber's judgment. The judgment will be notified to the parties and participants after the hearing. Translations of the summary will also be available in due course. I would like to thank the court reporters, interpreters, and other registry staff for their valuable assistance today in holding this hearing. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise. Kuya Gulag. May bukas sa iyong buhay, garapon mo ay naghihintay. Huwag. Po, malinaw na linaw. Puro fade. Yung lahat ng pinail po ni Capman, puro failed. Rejected, failed, rejected. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yari. Ang sakit. Unang-una po, yung health condition, tablado. Dahil daw po, yung talagayan ni Digong ay okay. Mga pamilya nagsasabing okay. Pati yung interim release, pangalawa, okay, tablado rin po. Dahil nga po may power pa si Digong na maaaring makaapekto sa mga biktima. Okay? Kung hindi po ano yung interim release, hindi na rin po iano yung medical condition dahil okay. Tablado lahat. So ano ibig sabihin nito? Garapon! Garapon na po si Digong. Alam niya sa sarili niya, alam po niya, kaya hindi siya umarap, alam niya na tablado, magpe-failed. Diba? Kasi po, ayaw ni Digong na magtuloy ito dahil mabubulat-lat lahat. Hindi maibulat-lat dito sa Pilipinas ang karahasan. Magkakaroon tayo ng idea na mabulat-lat to sa ICC. Lahat po ng kabulukan nila. Okay? Yun din po ang isipin yung opsyon. Hindi po mabalot-lat itong patayan na to sa ating korte dahil may pagkabayas. Sa ICC po, mabubulat lahat ito. Yun po ang iniiwasan ng mga Duterte. Pero failed. Abangan po natin. Yan po. Abangan natin ngayon kung paano si Digong mailagay sa garapon. Balita ko, half-cook muna eh. Half-cook. Half-cook po to. Tapos, pagdating po sa Pilipinas, doon po ipupull and well done. Ayan, sana po nagustuhan niyo po ang ating live. Palike-like na lang po ang ating channel na B-Rod PH. Garapon! Gagawa ko kanta ngayon din. Garapon! Let's go, Garapon!
Yeah.
Maraming salamat po, palike-like po, I love you all. Kita-kita po tayo sa ating main channel. Huwag kalimutan, ang Birahan PH po, bibirahin namin ang mga fake news, bibirahin namin ang mga tampalasan at bibirahin namin ang mga troll form. Pwe!
Sabi ni Bar